The following review contains significant plot spoilers. Please watch at your own risk.
Is he still alive?
He is.
I'm surprised. Did you find what you were looking for?
Yes.
Good. I assume you have no regrets.
I don't. What about you?
Of course not. That would be unprofessional. They found Green dead in the middle of the Bolivian desert of all places. 2 bullets in the back of his skull. They found motor oil in his stomach. Does that mean anything to you?
Wish I could help.
You'll be glad to know I straightened things out with the Americans. Your friend Leiter's been promoted. He replaced Bean.
Well, then the right people kept their jobs.
Something like that.
Congratulations, you were right.
About what?
About Vesper. Ma'am.
Bond? I need you back.
I never left.
After the release of Casino Royale in 2006, many Bond fans were eager to find out what would happen next following the ending of the film. In 2008, it was revealed that the next Bond film would be a direct sequel, a first for the series, and that it would be named after one of Ian Fleming's Bond stories. November came quickly that year, and I went to my local theater to watch the new Bond adventure. When I came out of the theater, I had a strange feeling. I felt very indifferent. I said to myself, "That's it? That's all it was?" The film made me wish that it had more. Quantum of Solace is the 22nd official Bond film and was released in 2008, starring Daniel Craig as James Bond 007. The film starts off with the traditional gun barrel at the start, right? Unfortunately, no. It was understandable with Casino Royale and a new take on it, but it would be great to see the traditional one with Craig. Anyways, the film instead opens up with the pre-title sequence that showcases a car chase. Bond is being pursued by White's men, with a captured Mr. White, played again by Jesper Christensen, in the trunk of his car. This car chase would be incredible if you could actually see what the hell is going on. Anyways, more on that later. After the chase, Bond makes it to Siena, Italy, where he opens the trunk and tells Mr. White that it's time to get out. And cue the theme song for the film, a duet by Jack White and Alicia Keys, entitled Another Way to Die. It's a very bland and forgettable song. The guitar in it is kind of okay, though. After the song, we get right back into the film with Bond and M interrogating Mr. White about his organization, which we later find out to be named Quantum. During the talk, M's bodyguard Craig Mitchell is revealed to be a double agent and attacks M, allowing Mr. White to escape. Bond chases Mitchell through underground passageways and across the rooftops until he catches up with him and kills him. Bond and M return to London and search Mitchell's apartment, where they find out that Mitchell had a contact in Haiti, named Edmund Slate. Bond tracks down Slate, kills him, and learns that he was a hitman sent to kill Camille Montes, played by Olga Kurylenko, at the behest of her lover, environmentalist Dominic Green, played by Matthew Amalric. Camille is the main Bond girl of the film, while Dominic Green is the main villain. Bond observes Camille's meeting with Green and learns that Green is helping an exiled Bolivian general named Medrano, played by Joaquin Cosio, to overthrow his government in exchange for a seemingly barren piece of desert. It is revealed here that Medrano murdered Camille's family when she was a baby. Bond steps in and rescues Camille and follows Green to an opera house in Bregenz, Austria. En route, the CIA head of the South American section, Gregory Beam, strikes a non-interference deal with Green to maintain access to assumed stocks of Bolivian oil. Bond infiltrates Quantum's meeting at the opera and a gunfight ensues. Bond fails to eliminate Green but escapes. Sometime later, Bond convinces his old ally, Renee Mathis, who is revealed to be innocent following the events of Casino Royale, to accompany him to Bolivia. At the airport, they are greeted by Strawberry Fields, an MI6 officer played by Gemma Arterton, who demands that Bond return to the UK. Nonetheless, Bond soon seduces her before they attend a party Green holds that night. At the party, Bond again rescues Camille and the two leave. Almost immediately, they are pulled over by Bolivian police working for Medrano. They had earlier attacked Mathis and put him in the trunk of Bond's car to frame Bond, and in the ensuing struggle, Mathis is unfortunately shot and killed. The following day, Bond and Camille survey Quantum's intended land acquisition by air, but are shot down after a brief air battle, and they skydive out of the plane into a sinkhole. There, Bond discovers that Quantum is damming Bolivia's supply of fresh water to create a monopoly. Back at Bond's hotel, Bond meets M and learns that Quantum murdered Fields by drowning her in oil. M orders Bond arrested for disobeying orders, but he easily escapes. He risks capture by going back to M and tells her that Fields demonstrated bravery in the field, and this is seemingly enough to convince M that Bond can be trusted. Bond later meets CIA agent Felix Leiter, again played by Jeffrey Wright, who discloses Green and Medrano will meet in the desert at an eco hotel to finalize the coup. Warned by Leiter, Bond evades the CIA when they attempt to kill him. Sometime later at the eco hotel, Green and Medrano negotiate their terms. At this point, Green finally reveals his true plans. Now that he controls the majority of Bolivia's water supply, Green forces Medrano to accept a new contract that makes Green Planet Bolivia's sole water utility company at significantly higher rates. Bond goes to the eco hotel with Camille, where he infiltrates it. He kills the chief of police for betraying Mathis and confronts Green. The hotel is destroyed during the ensuing struggle. Camille kills Medrano, avenging the murder of her family, and Bond captures Green. After interrogating him about Quantum, Bond leaves Green stranded in the middle of the desert with only a can of engine oil. Safe at last, Bond and Camille share a kiss before they part. After this, Bond travels to Kazan, Russia, where he finds Vesper Lynd's former lover, Yusef, with a new target, a Canadian agent. Yusef is a member of Quantum who seduces women with valuable connections. Bond decides not to kill Yusef and allows MI6 to arrest him instead. Outside, M tells Bond that Green was found in the middle of the desert dead, shot twice and with engine oil in his stomach. Bond, of course, denies knowing anything about it. M also reveals that Leiter has been promoted and has taken Beam's place. She reinstates Bond as an agent, but he tells her that he never left. As he leaves, he drops Vesper's necklace in the snow, ending his personal vendetta and the film as well. Oh, and I should mention that after the final scene, the gun barrel with Craig plays. Yeah, it's at the end of the film. It's been said that this signifies the conclusion of the whole Vesper thing, but I really think that it should be at the beginning, you know, where it actually belongs. Daniel Craig is as good as he was in Casino Royale and shows the same intensity. Nothing more to say on that matter. The main villain is Dominic Green, played by French actor Matthew Amalric. Amalric has a very distinct look, but at no point in the film seems threatening. He just seems like a regular old guy. He does, however, give a great acting performance and has a showdown with Bond at the end of the film, something Casino Royale lacked. He is shown attempting to strike Bond with a fire axe, something reminiscent of the fight between Bond and Max Zorn in 1985's A View to a Kill. Like the previous film, Bond doesn't personally kill the villain, but instead leaves him for dead, which I guess is satisfying enough. Overall, Green is a weak villain that only gets a few good moments and doesn't stand out all too well besides the look. Our secondary villain is General Medrano. I'm not going to be talking about him since he is an absolute filler character who is only in the film to be revenge material for Camille. Mr. White also makes a reappearance and escapes. It is not known if he will ever return in a future film, since the producers have said that this story arc is done and over. M returns again and is given a bit more screen time. Moneypenny and Q are still nowhere to be found, which at this point becomes a minor annoyance. The Bond films don't technically need these two characters to be a great series, but it would be very pleasing to see them again and how they fit in with this new Bond universe. Like Casino Royale, our two main allies are Renee Mathis and Felix Leiter. Jeffrey Wright does a solid job as Leiter once again, and Giancarlo Giannini also delivers. The one thing that bothers me is Mathis's death scene. It's not the fact that they kill off the character, it's the fact that Bond simply dumps his body in a dumpster and takes his money afterwards, saying that he wouldn't care. Okay, who wrote this scene? It doesn't fit at all and is distasteful and a sad end to the character. But anyways, moving on. There is only one main henchman in the film, and he was brought up to be a great character before the release of the film. His name is Elvis, and he's Green's cousin. Well, let me tell you something. This character is as good as Vargas from Thunderball, meaning he's useless. He gets very little scenes, including one where he's tripped down some stairs and in the process loses his bowl-cut wig. This character is a disappointment and in fact a complete joke. His death where he gets incinerated by the exploding eco-hotel is pretty dumb too. One defining aspect of the Bond franchise is the memorable henchman. So far in the Craig era, we have yet to come across a classic henchman. Oh well, hopefully Skyfall will deliver in this aspect. Lastly, we have our two Bond girls of the film, Camille and Strawberry Fields. Fields is the secondary Bond girl that of course gets killed. Her death scene where she is covered in oil is supposed to be a homage to Goldfinger, but the camera doesn't focus on her for more than 2 seconds due to the god-awful directing, so it's kind of useless. Besides that, she's just a filler character whose sole purpose is to be eye candy, in which she succeeds in that role. There's also the pun with her name, although she is simply called Fields in the movie until the end credits where they add Strawberry as her first name. Now tell me that was a good idea. There's absolutely no payoff to this joke, so it becomes useless, a term that I have already used several times in this review. Camille, on the other hand, is a great character and is attractive, despite what some people may tell you. I actually find it great how she never sleeps with Bond in the whole film, making it a first for the main Bond girl. It's a great idea that we haven't seen before. Let's just hope that they won't make a habit out of it. Regardless, Camille is a solid Bond girl who actually gets some backstory. Mark Forster is the director for this film and shows that he should not be allowed to direct another Bond film again. I take back what I said about Lee Tamahori. Forster is most certainly the worst director in the franchise. The main reason why many people can't figure the plot out is because of his awful directing. What's even worse is the second unit directors who did the action scenes. I can't even count how many frames there are for each action sequence. The camera is constantly cutting away every 2 seconds or less, and it becomes a nightmare to watch. This is by far the biggest flaw with the film, and I know it's all been said before, but it's a pretty damn serious problem. I do find it really funny how there are actually some reviewers out there who defend the action scenes. I guess if you like having seizures, you like them. David Arnold returns for his final score in the franchise and does a great job as always. He certainly brings some life to this otherwise bland film. I should mention that we still don't get the James Bond theme during the film. The main plot and scheme of the film is largely unremarkable and nowhere near a threatening one. It's also very hard to follow, more so than previous films such as Octopussy, and is confusing and convoluted. Some of the action scenes would have been great if we could see what was going on. There's a car chase, a boat chase, a plane chase, and a foot chase. There's also a few other small action sequences that have very little flash cutting, which is kind of odd. It's been said many times before that this feels like a Jason Bourne movie, and sadly I have to agree. The rapid cutting and the focus on non-stop action is definitely there. The finale of the film is okay, mainly in part to the fight between Bond and Green. Lastly, the locations are all pretty decent for the most part. We get a large variety with places like Italy, Bolivia, and Russia. While Casino Royale brought the franchise back to its glory, Quantum of Solace nearly destroyed all of it. If I could describe this film in a short sentence, I would say that it's a film that doesn't feel like a Bond flick at all and has no sense of direction. It tries to be an enjoyable film but ends up falling flat. The fact that it's the shortest in the franchise at 1 hour and 46 minutes certainly doesn't give it enough time to tell the story in a coherent way. There aren't many positives, but I do praise it for being a serious and mostly realistic film. I also wouldn't call it the absolute worst in the series. Diamonds Are Forever and The Man with the Golden Gun are far less enjoyable. However, it is a pretty bad Bond adventure that falls into mediocrity. I give Quantum of Solace a 5 out of 10. Now I will go over my likes and dislikes, starting with my likes. Daniel Craig once again delivers with a great performance as James Bond. Olga Kurylenko as Camille makes a great and unique Bond girl. Gemma Arterton is hot, despite not doing much of anything in the whole film. The last scene with Bond and M is actually a great scene and is probably my favorite in the whole film. And lastly, the finale at the Eco Hotel is satisfying enough that I will list it here. And now for my dislikes. Obviously I have more than 5, but here are the more important points. The bad directing makes this a very hard film to understand and follow. The action sequences are downright terrible due to the god-awful rapid camera cutting. We are treated to a very lackluster array of villains and henchmen. The Bourne influences and lack of Bondian elements really hurt this film. And lastly, the handling of Renee Mathis is terrible and distasteful. Well everyone, the time is here. In just 2 days I will be seeing the latest Bond film, Skyfall, at my local theater. I have read some reviews on the internet and I have nothing but high hopes for it. Regardless of what the outcome may be, it certainly can't be as bad as the film I just reviewed. I plan on getting the review up by Saturday or Sunday, depending on how much time I have. After that, you can expect reviews of the unofficial Bond films, the 2 Casino Royales and Never Say Never Again. Following that, I plan on doing a special feature where I go over my favorite Bond films, favorite villains, favorite girls, and so on. If I really feel like it, I may even do some reviews of some Bond-related video games. Anyways, you can expect a Skyfall review sometime soon, and I absolutely cannot wait to see it after 4 years of waiting. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.